I think things are a little bit, slower in the games industry right now than what we're used to. Obviously, there's still things to talk about and whatnot, but I have to be honest, I miss the days of, nonstop news and things like that, and it's a little bit unfortunate that we don't continually see that happen again and again. And, with something like this, I think it's interesting to talk about because people are showcasing exactly what they like about video games and what they don't like about video games. And what I mean by that is, obviously, The Last of Us Part 1 is a highly contentious game with the fact that, we had a remaster. So I was always curious about how people would react to this game, given that it was a full $70 game and it was actually cutting off some of the features that the previous version had. So, when you go back to it and you look at The Last of Us Part 1, it really kind of revolutionized some things back in the day for Sony, and that's something that we can't really take for granted if you think about it, right? It came towards the end of a life cycle. The PS3 was well received by everybody, and when we look at some people kind of loving this game or whatever, we have to realize that places like Twitter, those aren't indicative of 100% of the audience. And what I mean by that is, it's pretty clear to me anyway that Twitter isn't where the majority of gamers are. It's a very small minority of gamers, and they're vocal for sure, but I don't think that they necessarily have anything to sort of say about, what's right or wrong or anything like that. So while everybody was hyping up The Last of Us Part 1 remake, I was kind of on the fence saying, hey, this is kind of a cash grab, and it's weird to me to remake a remaster from just last gen, and the remaster still looks great. That's something that I didn't really understand. So when you look at the review bombing of this, it's very strange because as of right now, there are a ton of negative ratings, over 200, right? And it's got a score right now, and they could weed these out, of 5.8. But when you look at some of the things that are said, like aside from the slight visual enhancement, there's really nothing impressive or new about the game. The gameplay feels outdated, just like the 2014 remaster, and I expected something like the sequel's gameplay and smooth animations and visuals. Again, I think it comes down to what we want as fans and what our expectations are. So a game, like a lot of people are like, well, you don't really have much of a problem with the Resident Evil 2 remake, and that's true, but that game was from 1998 or something. So you understand why I think they remade that. With The Last of Us, there was a PS3 version, a PS4 version, and now a PS5 version, and the PS5 version has the least amount of content but is the most expensive of all the versions. So yeah, I do find that a little bit weird. And I also think that I admit that some of the graphics look better, some don't necessarily, in my opinion. And also the main thing that I think people were wanting from this was, maybe gameplay that matched part 2 because the gameplay was that much better. And that didn't happen either. I do want to get into this a little bit more. I think it's going to be a fun video, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. If you're watching my videos, please leave a like on them. I'm trying to get 100 likes on each of the videos. It's a small thing, but it would mean a lot to me personally. So let's go ahead and get started. Should be good. I think that a lot of people maybe forget where my original stance was on The Last of Us to begin with. When I came out on the PS3, it's kind of funny because I had like a launch PS3, and even though the Xbox Series, the Xbox 360 got a lot of crap for Red Ring of Death and whatnot, which obviously it deserved, the PS3, the original ones, had a lot of issues too with the yellow light of death. Mine yellow lighted twice, and they couldn't fix it the third time. So yeah, it was a lot of issues right there. So when The Last of Us came out, I bought a PS3 Super Slim, and I actually still have the box and everything for that. But the funny thing is, the Super Slim died as well. But yeah, I bought that, and I was like, well, you know what? They make the commercials look epic. I'll give it a try. And I played through it, and it just, it was just not my cup of tea. Like the mechanics were bad. I like the story, but some of the tropes, like, throw a bottle, throw a rock, throw a bottle, throw a rock. I didn't enjoy that. I thought it was a little bit clunky at times with the gameplay, and I also thought that the tropes, like with, okay, well, here you help Ellie across the water time and time and time and time again, it got really repetitive, and so I was like, screw it. I think I was almost at the end of it, and I gave up, and I had 0 trophies to show for it. So even when I played the remastered version, I ended up, I think, with 1 trophy or 2 trophies or something. It was really some low number. Now, I bought The Last of Us 2 and thought it was epic. I thought it was absolutely incredible. I really enjoyed The Last of Us Part 2, Team Abby all the way. I didn't mind the story. I'm not going to get into a bunch of spoilers right now, but honestly, I was never a huge fan of Joel to begin with. So yeah, it's just one of those things that I kind of just dealt with. Dealt with? Yeah, there's a word for you. But yeah, so it just was not something that honestly I thought was a big deal. I thought that, they did a really good job kind of making the game, and it played much better than the first, and I enjoyed it. Now when it comes to this one, I think it's still a good game, but I obviously think that, like I said, I think the first game is fine. A lot of people like the game, but when I look at this game and I see, basically the same game that it already had been, you sort of question the price point and things like that. And when there's no, fanboys to kind of talk about it and hype it up, you can see that it didn't exactly, nail the narrative like they wanted to. So, I think it's interesting. It didn't sell like they wanted to, for sure. I think it didn't even sell as good. Now, all we have is like the UK physical editions to go on, but it didn't sell well enough in that instance to even beat the latest Saints Row, which I don't think Saints Row was lighting anything up either. But the fact that it doesn't seem to be doing well at all. And one of the things was, maybe you guys remember this, when it leaked out that that they were doing this, right? One of the reasons internally that they were doing it was because they, quote unquote, knew it would sell, right? So just like, that's not a good enough reason to put something out, in my opinion. Like, everybody's asking for a Bloodborne remake or a remaster or this or that. I don't really recall anybody really asking for a Last of Us Part 1 remake. So yeah, it is a little bit strange, and I'm glad to see that people are kind of speaking with their wallets on this one. Like I said, I don't think it's like a terrible game or anything like that. I just think that, obviously, and it's not just Xbox fans. I know that there's probably Xbox fans who are on this, but I've seen PlayStation fans kind of bring it up as well, that they're not fans of, the $70 price point and things like that for a remake. That's kind of crazy, especially when you consider we got the Mafia remake. I think it was $40. We've gotten other remakes that were even the Gears of War first game that was remade, or some people say it's remastered, but pick hairs or whatever, to be honest with you, same stuff, to be quite frank about it. There's always games like this. Halo 2 Anniversary, although that was included in the collection, but Halo CE Anniversary, they made a new engine running over top the old one. Looked great, looked as good as new games, and again, I think that was a $40 game. So we see that there is a precedent there for games to be cheaper, and I personally find it to be a little bit weird that so many people were just okay with forking over a hard-earned $70. I don't think $70 comes cheap or comes easy to anybody, and it's just, to me, I just find it to be interesting that it's actually that's actually something that we as fans talk about. So yeah, very strange, but I am happy to see that people are speaking up. I don't think necessarily people are doing this out of spite. Oh, because it's a PlayStation thing. No, I don't think it's that. I think it's the fact that it's $70. They took out content, And, you know, obviously Sony's been making some mistakes lately. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure that things are going to come out as a wash or whatever, but I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts and opinions are. Let me know what you think. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Please like the video if you haven't already done so. Crap Gamer, out.